Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. You know how it is, right? Like, we go through life picking up these lessons along the way, but some of them you kind of wish you'd learned a little sooner.
It's like hindsight is always 2020, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, those life lessons that often only hit us later on. We got a really interesting set of sources for this one that offer 5 key insights. And trust me, some of these were pretty eye-opening for me.
Oh yeah, it's like a cheat sheet for life almost. We all make mistakes, we all learn as we go. But what if we could fast forward some of those tough lessons?
Right. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? And the first one that really stood out to me is all about how we view time. I know it's kind of a cliche, that whole time is money thing,
Mhm.
but our sources take it a step further. It's almost like a wake-up call.
Yeah, it is.
You know, did you know that the average person spends over 4 hours a day on their phone? Like, that's almost 1,500 hours a year.
Oh wow.
It really makes you think about where all our time goes, doesn't it?
It really does. It's so easy to get swept up in that daily grind. And the sources, they really highlight how all that busyness can distract us from what actually matters.
Yeah.
It's not even just about efficiency or anything like that. It's more about asking ourselves, am I actually spending my time in a way that, aligns with my values, with
Yeah.
my goals? Like, imagine if you could just reclaim even a fraction of that wasted time. What could you achieve?
It is. It's like this huge shift in perspective. And speaking of shifting perspectives, the next lesson really dives into relationships. Like we've all been there, you know. Friendships change, family dynamics shift over time, but the source makes this really interesting point about recognizing when it's time to actually let go.
Right. It challenges that whole idea that we have to hold on to every single relationship, even if they've become like toxic or just really draining. Imagine the energy you could reclaim by creating those healthy boundaries or even just, stepping away from connections that aren't serving you anymore. And it's not about burning bridges or anything. It's about prioritizing your own well-being.
Yeah. And that is, I mean, it's tough, right? But it's such an important point. And you know what? It actually kind of ties into the next lesson, which is all about embracing failure.
Mm.
We're so conditioned to be afraid of making mistakes, but the sources really argue that, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of the process.
Yeah.
They even quote J.K. Rowling in one of the sources. She was rejected by 12 publishers before she found a home for Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. That's a great example. They
Yeah.
really hammer home that, like, avoiding risk just to avoid failing can actually hold us back from growing.
So true.
Think about a time when you are afraid to try something new, right? What if you had taken that leap? Maybe you would have totally nailed it. Or maybe you would have just learned something super valuable from the experience. Either way, you wouldn't be stuck in the same place.
Yeah, that's so true. You wouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But okay, let's kind of shift gears a little bit here and talk about something that, we all have, but we often take for granted, our health. This is where the sources got really, really insightful, talking about how the choices we make today, they really have this like ripple effect on our well-being down the road.
Yeah, it's so easy to feel invincible when you're younger.
Totally.
But the sources, they highlight how even these seemingly small things, like what we're eating, how much we're moving, even just how we're managing stress, all of that, it adds up over time.
That's true.
They even cited this one study that found people who regularly eat fast food are 50% more likely to develop depression.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty stark reminder that our health isn't just about how we look on the outside. It's about how we feel, physically and mentally.
That's a really powerful connection I hadn't even thought about before. It really makes you think twice about that extra burger, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
And it actually connects back to our earlier point about time too, doesn't it?
Right.
Like taking care of your health now is almost like investing in your future freedom. You'll have more time and energy to do the things you love without being held back by, preventable health issues.
Exactly, exactly. Imagine being able to like travel the world or play with your grandkids or even just pursue those passions well into your later years because you made those healthy choices now.
Yeah.
It's about creating a life that you can actually enjoy to the fullest, both now and in the future.
I love that. Okay, so let's switch gears one more time here and kind of dive into the final big lesson from our sources, which is all about happiness. This is where things get a little philosophical.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
The sources really challenge this idea that happiness is something we achieve, like a destination.
Hmm.
Instead, they argue that it's more of an inside job, like a state of being that comes from within.
It does.
They even quote the Dalai Lama in one of the sources and I love this quote, "Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions."
I love that.
So good.
Yeah. And they emphasize that chasing those external markers of success, like wealth or status, that often leads to kind of a hollow happiness, right?
Yeah,
It's fleeting, it's dependent on factors that are totally outside of our control.
right.
So the sources, they suggest a more, I guess, sustainable approach, like focusing on cultivating that inner peace, practicing gratitude, and pursuing those activities that genuinely bring us joy.
Yeah, it's like we're almost programmed, right, to think like,
Mhm.
okay, if I just get that promotion or buy that car or, if I just hit this certain number of followers, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But these sources are suggesting that, like, true happiness, real happiness, it comes from somewhere way deeper.
Absolutely. It's about aligning, like you were saying, your actions with your values.
Mhm.
Cultivating those relationships that really mean something and finding that joy in the simple everyday things. It's a practice. It's not a destination, right?
Yeah, totally. It's a journey. It's ongoing. And it kind of makes you realize that happiness isn't something you find out there. It's something you create. It's like shifting that focus from what you're lacking to what you already have and being grateful for those things.
It is.
So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into like these life lessons that we often learn a little too late, let's kind of recap those big takeaways. Right?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
We started with the idea of really seeing time as our most precious resource, being mindful of where we're investing it, and reclaiming those lost hours.
Right. And then we talked about how relationships change over time,
Mhm.
and how letting go of those toxic connections can actually be like an act of self-care.
It can be. And then we kind of tackled that fear of failure head on, right?
Yeah.
Reframing it as a stepping stone to growth and learning, and really encouraging each other to take those leaps of faith.
Yeah, to just go for it.
And then we talked about how the choices we make about our health today, like right now, have such a huge impact on our well-being down the road.
Yeah, urging ourselves to really prioritize those healthy habits, like actually make them a priority.
Yes. And then finally, we challenged those external markers of success, the ones we always hear about. And we kind of discovered that true happiness, that deeper happiness, it really does come from within,
It does.
from cultivating inner peace, gratitude, and pursuing what brings us joy.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's been a fascinating journey, just exploring these concepts. And I really hope that our listeners feel, empowered to actually apply these lessons to their own lives.
me too. And remember, it's never too late to learn and grow, right? We might not have a time machine, but we can definitely make the most of this moment right now.
So as you're going about your day-to-day, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take, inspired by these lessons, to create a more fulfilling, more meaningful life?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's something to think about for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.